Welcome to the Home Business Podcast with Richard Captain Henderson, publisher of Home Business Magazine, and Sherilyn Colleen, managing editor. This how-to show helps you successfully operate your home-based business.
Greetings and welcome to the Home Business Podcast. I'm Richard Captain Henderson, your skipper at Home Business TV.
And I'm Lynn, your co-host.
Let's secure for sea and get underway. Drinking beer or hanging out with the boys, battling through 60-hour work weeks. Brendan Watt knows all about being a real man.
The problem is, in his desperate attempt to fit in and adhere to unspoken rules of manhood, Brendan found himself exhausted, broke, and deeply depressed.
He found the secret to his success, and to success for any guy trying to operate a home-based business, is to stop trying to fit in.
Brendan says, don't let others define you. Explore what you are really capable of. He calls it living in a question.
Today, Brendan Watt travels the world as a popular speaker, business mentor, and CFO of the global organization Access Consciousness.
So greetings, Brendan Watt. Welcome to the Home Business Podcast. Say hello.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
All right, so you're from Australia, but where are you connecting in from today?
I'm connecting in from Houston. And, you know, it's funny hearing you read my past out. And I'm like, wow, I actually used to live like that, but now I don't. I like it.
Humbling. So let's talk about your key principles behind breaking the mold. First, what are some of these man-up myths that men buy into often?
Well, I think as men, one of the things we do is we try and find our place that we fit. So we look for, okay, what does a man look like? And for me in Australia, I mean, I grew up in Australia, I lived in Australia, and for me it was the stereotype of a man was, you know, you've got to be rough and tough and you do this and you do that. And so I looked at, okay, how do I fit into that? Well, knowing I didn't fit into that, but I had to go along with this thing if I decided I wanted to be a man. So the way of breaking it was I had to start looking at, okay, what's actually true for me? And I started asking myself that and realized that fitting in never really worked for me. I wasn't happy. And as a kid, I wanted to be happy again. So I started looking at, okay, what's actually true for me here, not what's true for other people. And that's really where I started to break the mold.
Where do you think these myths come from? I mean, in some cases, I guess they're just sort of unwritten and nobody really says them, but you just pick them up. These manhood myths, you just pick them up going through your day-to-day life. I
think it's it's society and the way it works. It's like, as a man, you should look like this. And we have these definitions of it. So we go along with it.
That's true. Well, Brendan, going into business requires making a lot of choices. How does one's choices create your life?
Well, I think the thing with choices is you got to start with a question. So you got to start asking yourself questions so you can start seeing what choices you want to make. Not based on what everybody else is making, but we all know something different. And that's one of the things I learned about myself. And in facilitating people around the world, I've learned about them is they know things about themselves that nobody's ever asked them to share.
Oh, so it kind of looks around knowing yourself better and things about yourself, maybe more self-awareness, and that can help lead to better choices.
Definitely self-awareness, because it's like in schools now, do they ask you, hey, what is it you know about this? They say, no, find the answer, which is fine. But later in life, you're looking for an answer rather than asking a question for what works for you. So that's really where I started with all of this. And then my life started changing into the direction that was me, not somebody else or somebody I decided I had to be.
Okay. Well, before we move on to our next topic, I'd like to highlight this show's sponsor, Deborah Kay of Global Venture Services. Deborah Kay is one of the network marketing industry's top executives. She has worked with hundreds of aspiring home-based entrepreneurs to achieve business success. She has a simple system that you can follow. For more information, visit www.workparttimelivefulltime.com or our podcast website for more information on sponsors.
Brendan, you advocate that making money can be fun and easy. Is this really true? And can this apply to operating a business?
Yeah, I want to know how to make it fun.
Well, it's like for me, before I started on this different journey, I did not want to have money. I didn't want anything to do with it because as a kid, when money would come up, I would hear arguments. So I'd made these decisions that money is bad. I don't want it. It creates too much trouble, creates too much pain, too many arguments. But it's like we pick up these different things with money and what it is. So it can be joyful. And one of the things I learned about myself was the happier I was, the easier it was to make money. You know,
that's weird. So what, you started off at a young age attaching a negative outcome to money.
Yeah.
And just by maybe opposites attract, you found out by keeping it fun that money actually was it was actually easier to make when you stop that confrontation with making money.
One of the things I learned was if I was creating something based on the money I'd get from it, it was never fun for me. But if I was creating it based on the fun and the joy of creating it, the money would just come, and it would be much easier to make the money if I wasn't making it about the money.
I think that kind of ties into one of the rules of thumb in starting a business is you need to pick something that you like and not just necessarily get something attracted to something because you think the revenue stream is going to be there.
Well, my point of view is pretty much that this is not a test run. This is your life. If you're not enjoying it, then find something that is enjoyable. Find something that's fun for you, something that inspires you, something that you want to get out of bed in the morning and do it and be it and create it. Not, oh my God, I have to go to work again. I hate going to work again. Because it's like, where's the fun in that?
Well, yeah, you bring in another good point because if you're starting up your own business, you're going to be working a lot harder. So you better want to wake up and do that because it's going to take 50% more effort than just the typical 9-to-5 job. Well, running a business does require finding out what you are good at. Brendan, why are we not willing to look at what is great about ourselves?
Well, I think it's because in the way we grow up, we listen to other people and we try to look to others for where we can see ourselves in others. We don't actually go, what's great about me? But you got to look at it from that place of what's actually great about me here. What I noticed was when I started asking that and not focusing on the things I decided were wrong about me, but looking at the things that were great about me, then more greatness showed up. But if you're looking at the wrongness of you, more wrongness shows up. So you want to look for those things and be grateful for the things you're great at.
So is it safe to assume if you find out what you're great at and channel into that it'll also tie into more happiness and you'll have more satisfaction. And then that it all feeds back into some of these points you're talking about where it gets easier to generate revenue when you're happier and more satisfied.
Definitely. And a lot of people I talk to say, well, I've got, 5 kids and I have to work 3 jobs and I cannot give up this. And which I totally understand. I mean, I've been there and I've done it. Mm-hmm. But it's not about throwing everything away to create something new. It's about, okay, well, what could I add to my life? Not what do I need to get rid of in order to make room for something new? What could I add to it today that would make it more joyful for me? So this isn't about
that's a really good point to bring out. So many people look at it as a zero-sum game where if you add something, you got to subtract something. Well, your thing is just end that mindset and just look at what can you add that's moving you in a positive direction.
And that could be anything. It's like, it doesn't have to be this massive change in your life. It could be one thing, one little thing a day. If you did one little thing a day that made you more joyful, then things are going to start to change.
Brendan, so many of the principles you talk about require you to look at yourself differently. Is there courage behind a willingness to be different?
Oh, definitely. It takes a lot of courage to actually be different. When I started changing my life around, all my friends were like, why are you doing this? Why would you want to be different? Why would you want to create change? And it took the courage to go beyond what people were seeing it as and actually take another step forward and go, you know what? Because I am different. But most of us won't choose it.
So it's kind of making a change like that. I guess it generates some internal distress. I mean, if you're going to make a change, when you go into something different, it's just going to create, I guess, subconsciously stressors and discontent inside of you. Is that some of the reasons why you got to find that courage to make the change?
Well, most of the time we live with that discontent and that stress inside of us. And it's like making the change is the thing that starts to take that away from your life, because you start to actually live from what's true for you, not what's true for other people.
What's a good way? Anything like a rule of thumb to just like do a little bit of courage, like one morning, how do you find the courage to, you can't do this willingness to be different in one large swoop. Should you try it in baby steps or anything? Or
well, I did, but I'm that kind of person. Either don't do it or I do it totally. But my thing is when you get those moments of uncomfortability, everything's uncomfortable. Take another step into it. Don't shy back from it because it's uncomfortable. Keep going into the direction that you want to live. And uncomfortable is not a bad thing. I mean, my daily life is uncomfortable most of the time because I'm making more choices.
Well, it can kind of tell you maybe you're on the right track. If you're feeling a little bit of distress, that means you're making some changes. So I guess maybe it could be a good roadmap. I don't know.
Well, yeah. And what you want to do in that situation is put another foot in front of the other. Keep going. Don't ever quit.
Man, that sounds like sea duty in the Navy. Well, Brendan, this all comes down to breaking that myth, the myth of the man up mold, manning up. Can breaking this mold help us achieve greater success in, say, for example, operating a new business?
Yeah, well, if you don't have the mold, you haven't decided what it needs to look like already. If you haven't decided what it needs to look like already, then it can start showing up greater all the time. But if you've decided what it needs to look like, it can only show up as good as you've decided it can show up. So break that mold and start asking questions like, where does my business require its energy today? So you can start growing different parts of your business based on that.
Oh, so I see. So you kind of look at channeling this to a business. Your business itself can start getting into some molds, and that could be holding you back. And look at your business, and where do you need to break the mold on that?
Yep, it's with your business. If you've defined it as it has to look this way, it can only ever look that way. It cannot look greater than that because you've defined it as that.
Oh, good point. So you have to. You're setting limitations. That mold could actually be some limitations to where you can take it.
Yeah, and usually it's your point of view that creates your reality around anything. Like for people will say, I'm so sick of this, and often get sick because their point of view is they're sick of something. But our point of view creates everything that shows up in our life. So if you don't have the point of view, it needs to look this way. It can be whatever it can be.
Brendan Watt, this has been a great discussion on helping us to break the mold. Do you have any final points you would like to share?
Sure. Let's add in one little tool here. So for a day, look at what you're grateful for about you, not what you've decided is wrong with your life. For one day, if you can try that for one day and see if that changes something in your life. As one, I could give you 5 million, but I don't have time.
Well, I just want to make sure we hit that point. You're saying, one day, start up tomorrow, wake up and just focus on what is good in your life.
Yeah. What am I grateful for today?
And what are you grateful for? Okay.
Yep.
Good point. Well, Brendan Watt, thank you for being such a great guest on the Home Business Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. To learn more about Brendan Watt, visit brendanwatt.com or our podcast website for more information on guests.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Home Business Podcast. Share your feedback with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and on our website, homebusinessmag.com.
Visit the website for information on advertising. Subscribe free to our newsletter. Please visit our sponsors. For more information, visit homebusinessmag.com or the Home Business Expo at homebusinessexpo.com.
I'm Richard Captain Henderson saying anchors away.
We'll talk with you soon. Until then,
make it a great home-based biz day.